So over to you, please, Jim.
Thank you very much, Carrie, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. First, I apologize. I am on the road, so I hope this is coming across clear. We believe impact sourcing absolutely has a role within the Sustainable Development Goals and the community at large that is dealing with a very disruptive world that we're living in. To be very frank, we're past the tipping point on so many different fronts, but let me get into that and let me show you why we believe impact sourcing can connect. Environment, social governance, it's such a broad bucket. It covers so many things. And frankly, I'd like to put it into numbers for everybody. Before COVID, there was about a $2.5 trillion shortcoming to make the world more sustainable. I apologize, I'm on the road, but Ms. Mick, could you take my position, please? Thank you.
Sure, sir. When we talk about ESG, we have to look at it in the perspective of the businesses and what it means for us. There was a 2.5 trillion gap in financing sustainable development. That was pre-COVID, but post-COVID, it now brings us a 4.2 trillion deficit in financing the development. And as it is today, almost half of the global population, the 9 billion population, is living below the poverty line of $6.85 per day. And that is something that I think the industry can contribute to make sure that the wider labor and talent available are ready and prepared to be integrated to the global workforce. Next slide, Ms. Christina, please. Over to you, Sir Matt.
Yeah, let me jump in. Sorry about the bit of a disruption. Jim started out explaining, and Michelle's expanded upon. There's a huge amount of work to do in order to cover the gap in terms of helping the world achieve the SDGs, and impact sourcing plays a great part in that, or can play a great part in that. We believe in terms of the SDGs related to eradicating poverty. Looking at some of the numbers here, according to recent data from Everest, there were 350,000 impact workers worldwide. Now that sounds like a good number. It's a positive start. It's showing that there is already a presence in terms of impact workers within the outsourcing industry. But if we look at the numbers on the left-hand side, which is the total number of FTEs in the global services market, is really just scratching the surface. And in terms of predictions for the outsourcing industry, that has been growing and is expected to continue to grow despite talk of downturn and recession. So we believe there's a lot of opportunity to do more, and that organizations, both in terms of providers and buyers, can drive this much further. There's a bigger opportunity, and you can see some of the numbers there in terms of presence of impact workers in different regions. We've done a lot of work in the Philippines, Kenya in more recent years, which we expect to, which is one of our big focuses, is Africa. And starting to look towards Latin America. But I think we're going to hear more about that from other speakers later on. So if we go to the next slide, there's some of the benefits that we've experienced and that people can achieve. First of all is the talent advantage. We're all talking about the difficulties in hiring and attracting good talent. Impact sourcing is a great way to overcome that. With our impact workers, we see much less challenge in terms of hiring, and things like attrition rates are much lower. So there's definitely an advantage there. In terms of the business, we are seeing obviously there's some advantages in terms of the cost of doing business, the lower costs in terms of that you get from the lower turnover, the reliability you get from a stable workforce, and then obviously the third bullet is the S in ESG, the corporate citizenship, the ability to provide a positive impact and contribute to the achievement of SDGs. If we move forward to the next slide, please. So just some very high level stats on ADEC. Not a huge presence in Europe today, which we're trying to change, but just to give you an idea of where we're operating globally, as I mentioned, key areas for us in terms of impact sourcing have been Philippines and Africa. Although, as we'll show in the next slide, we have been turning our attention onshore as well. So if we move to the next slide. So just a couple of personal examples. So one is from Kenya. We have just an example there of one of our employees. We're proud to be able to give opportunities to people where we operate, and that's one of the key tenets really of impact sourcing, is being able to give opportunities to people that wouldn't otherwise have them. We work hard to develop our employees when they join us and give them opportunities to move through the ranks and develop actually a meaningful career with the business, with our business, that we believe benefits the employee, but also benefits the wider community. Impact sourcing doesn't have to just be about places like Kenya with widespread challenges. It also can be a useful tool and effective closer to home. So in Ireland, we've had an impact sourcing program where we have employed long-term unemployed people. It means we've got access to a slightly different demographic. We've seen a lot of benefits from that. And we think that's something that's important to talk about when we're discussing the impact sourcing movement. Next slide, please. And so finally, I'm going to hand over a slightly different example. I'm going to hand over to Ms. Mick to talk about some of the work that we do with the UN.
Thank you, Sir Matt. So part of the program we're doing for impact sourcing, the usual contracting for outsourcing is usually B2B, and sometimes there are private sectors getting contract from the government. But we find this cooperation unique in a sense that we work with a multi-stakeholder approach. We work with the United Nations Habitat to develop this program of SDG cities. It's Sustainable Development Goals for cities. Earlier, we discussed sustainability and the challenges that goes along with it. And sometimes you have to take that into bits and pieces to be able to manage the different aspects of sustainability effectively and more efficiently. So this project, we are targeting to reach 1,000 cities globally in the next 5 years, together with UN Habitat and Global CO Alliance, which is also our partner. And this would effectively impact 1 billion lives. That is where we see the data would really play a crucial role in managing sustainability aspects, whether it's the greenhouse gas emission for cities, for private companies, or what have you. And also looking at the supply chain that goes along with management of sustainability. Data really plays a crucial role in managing those. And a lot of it cannot be, cities doesn't have the capacity to do that. So we partnered with UN Habitat to clean the data, find where the data are, and also transform the data into something meaningful that can be used by the governments for their policy creation related to sustainability, or for businesses on how they can make smarter decision in terms of their sustainable plans and strategies. So the project impact that we're looking at, the 1 billion lives, this has a multiplier effect because all these work are done through impact sourcing. So we are investing in the capacity of the people we have in the organization for us to do and support the data and analytics team of the United Nations. So these are being done in our African office through impact sourcing. So there is the opportunity of upskilling and reskilling. Right now, when we look at, I was looking at the survey of McKinsey the other day, that it was surveyed that at least 75% of the CEOs interviewed identified that there is a shortfall in terms of getting the talents they actually required. But if we look at the International Labor Organization data, there is still a lot of unemployment record happening, about 232 million global unemployment rate. So there's a huge disconnect on the talents needed and also the talents that are available. So we feel that the upskilling and reskilling of the people, just like what we're doing here in this project with UN Habitat, is an important mechanism on how we can at least address the shortfall of talent and bridge the gap between the demand and the supply. So thank you. I think that's it for this case study. Sir Matt, over to you.
Thank you very much. Hopefully we managed to get the message across despite technical challenges. Thanks, Gary.